Well, Sam brought up Ridley. And speaking of Ridley, our next email comes from Pat in Verona, New York, who says, as a lifelong video game player, one of the gaming blind spots in my history is the Metroid series. I've always been interested, but it seemed there are always other games that receive my time and attention. With the newest entry on the horizon, I feel now is the perfect time to give it a try. Since I know it was a beloved franchise to the Scoop Crew, I thought I would ask you all to help me in picking the best game to get into the series. So, Pat, everyone has their favorites, but I think, correct me if I'm wrong, everyone would agree that if you're jumping in first, you have to play Federation Force.
That's a joke. That's a joke. Please don't turn off the episode and go buy it.
I kid.
Metroid Prime Pinball.
That's the DS one, isn't it?
3DS.
Federation
Force.
No.
It's a terrible
multiplayer,
cutesy multiplayer game. Yeah, I was just kidding.
I think there's 2 points of entry.
Yep.
You can get Metroid Prime, and there's Metroid Prime Trilogy on the Switch would be a great way to play it, or Super Metroid.
Hold up. Is the Prime Trilogy available on Switch or just Prime Remastered?
Just Prime Remastered.
No, nobody knows.
Okay, got it.
and it's incredible. I gave it a 10.
Yep.
That was my first Metroid game, so I can confirm that there's no problem with starting there. You can totally start there. It's not a big deal to have that be your first Metroid game. I think there's an equivalent 2D entry, though, which might make a little bit more sense if you do care about the kind of plot. And you don't need to care about the plot for Prime. It's completely different. Like, they just barely reference the other games in the Prime series. It takes place at a different time. So, but yeah, Zero Mission is on Switch's Situation.
It's a Game Boy Advance game.
eShop. And it is a really, identical to Super Metroid, but it takes place before it. So, if that matters to you.
Zero Mission is a remake of Metroid 1. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Zero Mission would be a good point. I mean, Metroid Dread would be a reasonable starting first Metroid game too. I don't look, Super Metroid is my favorite game of all time. Said it on the show many times, but I don't think the lore of the game and the linear, I don't think it matters that much.
No, it really doesn't.
No.
Yeah.
One thing that Zero Mission does that it does soften the corners of even Super Metroid, which is boy, did that do a lot of work to make Metroid a fun game, because Metroid and the Game Boy Metroid are not that fun in their original formats. So the Super Nintendo version was incredible for that. So playable, so accessible. But even compared to the Super Nintendo Super Metroid, Zero Mission does add a bunch of it really helps with the map and kind of explaining how you're really, the whole game is about finding false walls and uncovering the map. You get a better sense of that maybe from Zero Mission, and then you can apply your skills to I think what ends up being a harder game in Super Metroid. So there's that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, Zero Mission has even little things like mantling up ledges and stuff like that.
I love that.
The game feel is really nice. I don't think the game world and scenario is overall as good as Super Metroid.
And then it has the Shine Spark puzzles, which I think are the really cool kind of deep cut stuff that are really, really hard to do.
That's true.
Fusion has that also, but I wouldn't recommend Fusion.
In summary, Super Metroid, Zero Mission, Metroid Prime Remastered, or probably, honestly, Metroid Dread. You could start with any of those.
If the
and then just play them all, except for you don't need to play Metroid 2 or the original in the NES, probably.
Yeah. If the whole point is to prepare for Metroid Prime 4, probably go with Prime Remastered.
Mm-hmm.
But everything,
that's a good point.
Everything Sam and Justin are saying about Zero Mission and Super Metroid that stands. If you're just someone who's interested in video games in general and the history of video games, you have to experience what Nintendo did with Super Metroid all the way back then. It's so moody. It has such cool style and atmosphere. And it's so different from everything else Nintendo was known for at the time. It's amazing. Mark, do you have any take on Metroid? Oh, wait, go ahead.
Well, another funny thing about Zero Mission is that it introduces the concept of the Chozo, which are key parts of the Metroid Prime series and not part of Super Metroid.
There's Chozo statues in Super Metroid. Well, they might not.
You don't talk to the Chozo and have flashbacks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Remember they added in Zero Mission that whole area where you're in the Zero Suit. That's where Zero Suit came from.
Yeah, you don't talk at all in that game.
Yeah, I famously, too old for Metroidvanias is my thing.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
A little too old for them. grew out of them. But no, I've actually, the only Metroid I've played is Super Metroid and then Metroid Dread, and they're both great. But like, I don't have any sort of like working knowledge of them at all. I do have Metroid Prime for the Switch, so I should give it a go before 4 comes out.
That's great.
That game is incredible. It'll draw you in right away too.
When I played Super Metroid for the first time, it was the 90s. And I guess technically the internet existed, but, there wasn't, you couldn't just look up game guides, yet that didn't really exist. And so I got stuck in Super Metroid, right? Like I was super stuck and I was in the Meridian, couldn't figure out where I was supposed to do and what I was supposed to do. Then I finally figured it out and I got through it and was like making new progress in the game. And then I remember being upstairs trying to find a save point, desperately trying to find a save point so that I could lock in that progress. And my mom being downstairs screaming at me because I was going to be late for a band concert.
Oh, no.
I'm like, you can just hold on for 1 minute. She's like, we got to go now. You're going to be late. I'm like,
She doesn't understand.
Cool.
Yeah, parents just don't understand, notoriously. And then my kids try to pull that on me. And I'm like, I know what game you're playing. I know that you can just save anywhere.
I know that every time you touch a blade of grass, it's auto-saving.
Yep.